Welcome to the City of Caldwell podcast. Today we have the Economic Development team. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves and a little bit about themselves. So we'll start with you.
Okay. So my name is Ofelia Morales. I'm the Economic Development Specialist for the City of Caldwell. A little bit about me. I'm a resident of Caldwell, have lived here for 14 years in Caldwell, Treasure Valley, my entire life. Prior to joining the city, I was with the Idaho Department of Labor for 11 and a half years, working in workforce development. Again, been in this role for a little bit over a year and a half or so. Loving what I'm doing. Just going back to a little bit more about myself, I grew up in Wilder, so not too far from here, 11 miles away from here. Graduated from Wilder High School, attended Boise State. I was very blessed to participate in the Upper Bound Trio program, which is a federally funded program that assists first generational students become more aware of higher education. So I was lucky to be able to review or view other schools through that program. So I was able to go to Washington, at Washington State University, just the options that were available to me. And I'm very, very happy to be here in Caldwell now, working for the City of Caldwell.
Nice, thank you.
Awesome. And I'm Jenkins, Economic Development Director, and I have been with the city now for right around 4 years. 4 years this month, as a matter of fact. 2 years in this position, and then 2 years previously as an Economic Development Specialist. So seeing a lot of growth, seeing a lot of change in the city. I actually moved into Idaho from the Midwest, came in about 2013. Previous to working with the city, I was at Boise State University in concurrent enrollment, where I worked with high school students, not the trio, but in a different capacity. We help with dual credit classes. So we help launch college level courses at the high school level. And then prior to that, I was at CWI, College of Western Idaho, also in dual credit. So worked again with high school students, just in a different role. At Boise State, I was an assistant director, and at CWI, I was a coordinator. So got my feel in education and then transitioned into development. Here I am today. So excited to join you in this conversation today.
Cool. One interesting that somebody said about you recently is the number of states that you've lived in before. So how many states actually has it been?
So I've lived in 8 states, and that sounds really cool at certain points, but when you're trying to go to a high school dance or things like that, it's not very fun. So 8 states total, most of which are in the Southeast. Of course, in the Midwest. Recently moved from Missouri here, as I mentioned, but I lived in Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, all over the country. So it does help a lot as you look at different communities, though, because as you try to build Caldwell and obviously look at growth trajectories and patterns for our future, it certainly helps to have that back-end knowledge. But again, not so fun when you're in high school.
Right. Good thing we're not in high school anymore, I guess. Right? So excluding Idaho, what has been your favorite state to live in?
Man, I like that you said excluding Idaho, so I don't have to butcher that one, because I do love Idaho and I love Caldwell for sure. But I would say I really enjoyed living in Florida for obvious reasons, right? But Florida was so neat just because I loved, first off, the food was amazing. You go and get a Cuban, red beans and rice or whatever the case is, and it was incredible, right? So food options, the diversity was incredible. And then of course just the beach, the white sand beaches that are in Florida. Just used to really love that. Didn't love the month of August in Florida because you sweat quite a bit. But beyond that, it was just a lot of fun to live in Florida and experience all the nuances to the state.
Cool. One thing I want you to tell us too is your family. So I'll go to you in a moment, Ofelia. But tell us about your family. Tell us just what makes you guys click.
So my family, I'll start with my wife. I've been married to Chelsea. We just had our anniversary, and we were celebrating 10 years of marriage, which is pretty awesome. So just a lot of fun. I'm really fortunate to have her. And I swing really big in life in general, and my wife is a testament to that. So just one of those things and appreciate all she does. So I have 3 boys. I have a 9-year-old named Caden. I have an 8-year-old named Kyson, and I have a 4-year-old named Camden. So I want you to remember that before this is all said and done. And then I have actually baby number 4 on the way. So
Congrats.
we are just keeping things busy in the Jenkins household. I wasn't stressed out enough, so I wanted to make sure that we were just reaching the maximum point of stress in our household. But it's just gonna be a lot of fun. We love our boys and have a lot of fun together. We love sports. They're playing baseball now, but they play all sports, and love basketball, of course. And of course, I forced them to be Atlanta Hawks fans because I lived in Atlanta when I was a kid, and now they have adopted that as well. So it's just fun seeing them do the things that I grew up doing, and the teams that I liked when I grew up as well. Having them adopt that as well. So it's just fun.
So you're like, I don't have enough gray hair, in my head, so I need another kid.
This time next year, the podcast, I'll have a full head of gray hair, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. All right, Ofelia, tell us a little bit about your family, and then we'll start talking about some biz here.
Absolutely. So I actually come from a large family, so wasn't what I wanted for myself. So I have 5 brothers and a sister. I myself have 2 kids, a boy, Julian, a daughter, Ofelia. They both attend Vision Charter here in Caldwell. They're pretty mellow kids, I would say. We don't do any sports like Steven's kids. We like to visit farmers markets. Tuesday's farmers market here in Caldwell is one of our favorites. My little boy's involved in robotics, so just pretty calm. My husband and I have been together for 23 years.
Wow.
This July will be 23 years for us, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess when you don't have sports for your kids, you actually have nights to go do stuff.
Yeah,
instead of practices and games.
Exactly. So we garden quite a bit. So we grow our food. We live in a quarter of an acre, so we're able to do that. And we're able to relax a little bit more because they're not as involved as most kids would be involved.
So since you're an Idaho native, what is your number one most favorite thing about Idaho?
I would say that it's the crime rate. I would say it's pretty low here. It feels really safe. Everyone knows everyone in the community. So I would say that that's my favorite part about Idaho. And of course the options, the outdoor options. Right now we're planning a camping trip. So just having those options available to us and just being close to a large city like Boise that does offer quite a bit of variety is really nice.
Sweet. Now, Ofelia, your main role, not your only role, but a big project that you have is overseeing the Caldwell downtown and the plaza area. So can you just tell us kind of what's going on down there? What are people concerned about? What are people excited about?
Yeah, so people are excited to have new businesses in our community. I think that I constantly hear that, not only from our community members, but other folks throughout the Treasure Valley, how Caldwell has just so many unique businesses. We have in our downtown, we have over 40 unique businesses. I would say another exciting thing about our downtown is that we have one of the 7th only ice ribbons in the nation. So there's constantly activity happening in our downtown, over 200 events throughout the year. We have a great MOU relationship with Destination Caldwell, who handles all of those activities, and they're doing an amazing job at putting those activities on for the city. Very robust downtown. I said those things would be exciting. For me, redevelopment is really exciting in our downtown. So here in the near future, we expect 4 new redevelopments throughout our downtown, mixed use. So a lot of retail, office space, which is in high demand right now. So we're excited about that. We're excited about Tillian, 142 apartments coming to our downtown. What that means for our downtown and our community is 142 customers. We're super excited about that. I would say maybe some concerns that folks may have is parking. I think in any downtown, parking's always going to be, those questions that people have, and the city's doing a great job at addressing those questions, concerns. We have over 6 free parking spaces throughout our downtown. We are working on a parking study to potentially look at a parking structure in the future. I think those are the concerns for our residents in our downtown, but there's a lot of excitement that's happening.
So we have 600 currently, but we have more coming, I think.
And more
right?
coming,
so...
more coming. As new developments coming, we're also making sure we're addressing that concern as well.
So I almost hesitate to ask this question, but concerning parking, where would be the good finds? Like what's the secret? Maybe it won't be secret anymore here in a second.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'd love to give you my little secrets. And I don't have because like you said, I know downtown fairly well. I know where to park, so I'll give you these little secrets. But Right behind We Discover, so there's a private parking lot there. It's only $1 an hour. But right behind that parking lot, there's a little dirt lot there. You can park for free. Not a lot of people know you do have to go through the alley to access that, but it is free. Also on 4th and Arthur, there's a lot of parking there as well that people might not be aware of street parking. So those are usually my go-to spots for me when there's events happening throughout our downtown, because not a lot of people know about those spaces.
And I noticed when you cross the tracks, there's a bunch of new parking over there. So I know some people might not want to walk the extra, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes, but if you're willing to do that, you kind of have free reign over there, right?
Yeah, you absolutely do. And there's also free charging on that parking lot, that new parking lot. It's landscaped very, very nice. There's a lot of lighting for safety purposes. And you're absolutely right. You don't have to walk that far. You just have to cross those railroad tracks to get into our downtown. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Sure. And tell us more about the Tillian project and maybe what's going on with the Mono's new building.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tillian, those 142 apartments, and their website, you might just make sure you keep an eye on their website. Make sure to quote me. But this morning I checked about 1 bedroom, 1 studio is running about $1,200. 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, roughly $1,800. So market rate. That's amazing prices for a very robust downtown. And they're looking into having their tenants move in phases. So August 14th is what we're seeing on their website. So really excited about that development happening in our downtown. And then just a little bit about Mono. That I didn't cover in terms of, just exciting things happening in our downtown. Mono was recently nominated for a James Beard Award, which in the culinary world is like the Oscars, right? And so they were nominated and they made it to the finals. So we had another restaurant in Boise, Ken, who also made it to that phase, and they were the first 2 in the state of Idaho to have gotten that far. So we're super excited for them. We're really, really happy for them that they chose to be in our downtown, and we're hoping that we have them in downtown for quite a long time. So super excited for them and super excited to be working with them on their future redevelopment in our community.
Okay. And I think the James Beard Award winner that actually won it, I think you were saying he was a C of I alum. Is that right?
That's correct. Chris Kamori, Chef Chris Kamori is a College of Idaho alum. Graduated, I don't know the exact year, but with a biology degree. So really excited for him. It was great to hear him last night, just recognize our community, the entire Treasure Valley, and we're so happy for him, and we're so excited that we have our own Mono also in Caldwell.
Cool. Now, Steve, tell us, what is your philosophy for growth as the economic development just director, and what are some things that people should know about? Because I think you kind of specialize a lot more in the industrial side of things. I feel like you court a lot of different national brands that people would be more familiar with out there as well. So what's happening? What's your philosophy, and what can people, I guess, expect in the next coming years?
Yeah, definitely. Loaded question. I love it though.
Okay.
Our area has experienced tremendous growth, as you mentioned, and we've grown roughly 20% since the last census from a population standpoint, which is phenomenal activity from that area. And we are looking at just different strategies to grow because of the influx of in-migration and the new folks that are moving into our community. And many people in Caldwell may be aware of this, but Caldwell has such an interesting history, and it's one of those things where there's different perceptions floating around out there. I was in actually downtown Boise earlier today, and I was talking to a broker from TOK, and he was indicating that growing up here, the perception of Caldwell was that it was just crime-ridden, and it was a bad area to live in, and you don't want to go on that far into the Treasure Valley because there's not good things that happen to people on this side of the valley. And some of these things, even through the media, are still being perpetuated today. So we constantly try to combat that with creating our own story for how things are in Caldwell and the reality of what things look like here. And that's important to us because we do feel like we have such a beautiful community with not just a beautiful creek that runs through our downtown, but just so many assets that create a quality of life that's second to none. I mean, you've got wineries out in Sunny Slope, you got 15 or so wineries out there and growing, and just beautiful landscape. So you have a country, more rural landscape, and then you come into the city core. You just have just a dynamic city that's burgeoning and that continues to grow and expand. So we're excited about these features that we have. But I would say about 20 years ago, Mayor Nancolis, our previous mayor, and my predecessor, Steve Foltz, they came up with an economic development strategy that was framed around industrial development. And Steve Foltz, I always used to tease him because he's a basic sector guy. The basic sector is really just the industrial growth and industrial development. That's really what it's framed around. And he brought that mentality with him. And I used to tell him, gosh, that's such an old school thought. No, we got to think differently. But man, I'll tell you, industrial development's bring in everything else along with it, because when you bring in jobs to community and those kinds of investments that come from industrial developments, then you have rooftops that follow. So you have multifamily developments, and then you have single family developments, and then you have retail as well. So I feel like I've adopted somehow, I have taken that in as my mentality for economic development and for how we're going to grow as a community. So that's first on my list, of course. And one of the things that we've done is we've tried to create a community that has eliminated risk for developers, because when you think about development, you can develop anywhere in the country. You have a $50 million or $60 million development opportunity. You could put that thing in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Tacoma, Washington, Bend, Oregon. So we're competing for these projects all the time. I mean, even things that you might not be aware of, but we're competing for projects quite a bit. So we have to find a way to stand out to these site selectors and to these companies that are considering the market. And for us, it was creating an environment where there's shovel-ready land. So you think about Sky Ranch out here, it's 400 acres of industrial land, and you see a lot of development and growth that's occurring out there right now, which is tremendous. But before all that took place, we had to plat the property, we had to zone it properly, we had to find a way to bring utilities to the properties. So we built an urban renewal district around this area, and we got with Intermountain Gas and Idaho Power and Syringa Networks and all the companies that we needed to bring in these utilities, and made sure that these properties were shovel ready, so that when the decisions were about to be made as far as where these investments would go, they would consider Caldwell at the top of their list. So this park now, I'll tell you, we have roughly 2,000 or so jobs out there, maybe even more than that, probably more than that. And in terms of square footage under roof for industrial developments, we have well over 2 million square feet. So that's quite impressive for a community like ours, a 70,000 population for our community. So we feel as though our future is bright from an industrial development standpoint. And one thing I'll say before I shut up and let you ask the next question is we were focused as the county seat of Canyon County. We had a lot of public sector jobs. So we had this ambitious plan years ago. I remember when I first started, we wanted to have more private sector jobs than we did public sector jobs. So we had jobs in the school district, we had jobs with the city, the county, et cetera. And we said, we want more private sector jobs. So as you look at the layout of jobs today, I think we got ourselves there. So it's pretty amazing to see in just such a short span of time. I mean, like I said, I've been here 4 years, but our future is so bright because those private sector jobs are very stable. They pay extremely well. We actually corresponded with a company that just moved into our community, and they're paying $25 an hour starting out. I remember making $5.55 at a grocery store back in Florida. It was not pretty for me, but it was just one of those things. But yeah, we're in a great place for growth, and we just see Caldwell as being really a bright spot in the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, I remember my $6.25 an hour job, bussing tables at an Italian restaurant. So it's a long way from there, but it paid my gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else do you need when you're
when you're a teenager, right?
Right.
Yes.
All those moons ago.
You and I are just giving away our age right now.
Oh yeah. I haven't been married for 20 years though, but
yeah, that's right.
Were there any other just projects or things that you guys wanted to highlight before we head off?
I think just one more thing that I wanted to highlight was go back to all the unique businesses that we have in downtown, and I failed to mention Creekside Mallow. You know, they are a small business that started in Caldwell, and they can be found, their product can be found in all 50 states. So I think that's, you know, what a cool story just coming from Caldwell, finding a small company that their products in all 50 states, and they're in big companies, businesses like REI, Home Goods. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was, having a conversation with them, and they said, "Oh, we'll connect in a few minutes because we're filling up our order for Home Goods." And so, yeah, it's just such a neat story of a company that is locally here that can be found throughout the nation. So
I have a shout out for them too. I think I may have told you this, that we recently had a Caldwell High student who got a NASA internship, and being the mayor's aide, I got the green light to put something together for him. And I remember going in with our intern Maya into Creekside Malo, just kind of explaining, hey, I'm from the city, here's what we're doing. There's that student that we want a care package to just send him, to his internship with, to remind him of Caldwell and stuff. And I'm like, oh, these marshmallows would be great. They're from here. And the manager her attitude was, hey, I heard that story. We want to help. Please just take some marshmallows for this kid, and I was like, are you sure? I brought money to spend this, on, him, but she was very insistent. And to me, that just shows, wow, what a great partnership that in relationship you guys have built with some of these places that are just willing to just jump in. And, when I said I was from the city, she didn't, have a sour face or anything. She was just excited, just to help out however they could. So.
And that's the kind of attitude I think, Steve, we see throughout our community, right? They're always willing to jump in and help, and they're all great businesses.
That's awesome.
I remember when you pulled them out, by the way, he was so excited, just to see it.
Those are big marshmallows.
Yeah.
That explains why you were eating marshmallows in your office the other day. Some extra marshmallows from Creekside Malo there. So.
Yeah, I need to do it. Well, theirs are different. They're flavored. If you haven't tried some, if you're out there in the world, please try some.
Yep.
So any last projects you wanted to highlight, or any topics?
Yeah, I would say just on that topic, if you're interested in Caldwell businesses and really the flow of business activity that goes beyond Caldwell, Fresca Mexican food comes to mind, Capital Distributing. Fresca makes tortillas, and their tortillas go all over the world, South Africa, the UK, etc. So it's just phenomenal. But we have a blog on our website, and it's called Built in Caldwell. We haven't done a story or a blog in a little while, but we plan to get that going again. So that's a way to keep up with Caldwell businesses and seeing just how fantastic they are and how their business extends beyond the borders of Canyon County, which is a lot of fun. The last thing I'll say, and I get to ask this question a lot, is why don't we have X in the community, right? Why don't we have a Winco, a Fred Meyer, anything else that pertains to what one might want to see? And in our department, what we do is we are kind of the sales reps for the community. So we do get in front of those people and we say, hey, here's who we are, here's what we want to do. So we're working in the background to build relationships, but a lot of those things are out of our control. So they look at how many rooftops are coming in, so how many residential units are coming into an area, what the household income is, how much disposable income one might have, and where their workforce might be coming from. That's one thing that always comes up as workforce, but no matter what industry you consider. So we are working really hard in the background to make sure that we're ready and prepared for these opportunities to come forward to the community. So those are things that we are looking at, and particularly around shopping opportunities in Caldwell, because we do have a lot of retail leakage, as they call it, and that means that your money is being spent in a neighboring community for different products that you might be looking for, and we don't want that to be the case. So we're again working hard to make sure that a citizen here in Caldwell can do everything that they are hoping to do in Caldwell. So buying their oranges, buying their Nike t-shirts, buying their Atlanta Hawks hats, they want to make sure that they can buy them here in Caldwell.
Right. So I think the last thing I'll probably just bring up is, I think it's a twofold message. What would you say to the businesses that already exist? Because that's part of what you guys do too. Right. You kind of maintain that relationship. You check in on some of these, businesses or people. So what would be something that you would say to them? And then maybe for the potential business, I think you said some of it already, but what would be a message, or not necessarily your pitch, but what would you say to a business that maybe didn't consider Caldwell,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they are and they just need that extra little step to hit that tipping point.
I'll let you take that one.
Sure. I would say to our current businesses, we are resource providers.
Mhm.
So if you're looking for any assistance whatsoever, social media, getting your business name out there, making sure that if you have a workforce issue, who do you get in touch with? Come to us,
Mhm.
because we do work really hard to build connections across the landscape of the Treasure Valley and beyond, so that we can be prepared to provide those resources to folks. So I would just say use us for any of those things: site selection, business finance, whatever the case might be. We're always here to help. And one of the things that we are going to be working on as far as our department's concerned is business retention expansion.
Mhm.
So we're going to go out to the businesses and ask these deliberate questions related to how they're doing and how we can assist, and here's who we are, just as a touch point for that. A lot of businesses are the ones that we've talked to, they've never interacted with the city rep before, so they reach out to us if they have any permitting questions or questions around signage or whatever the case is. We try to be the middleman, if you will, for those, like the liaison is a better word for those activities. And then for the new businesses coming in, Caldwell is innovative. We are creative. We work really well together. We're lean as an organization, but I will tell you that we find a way to get things done. So we're development friendly in the city, and we have an eye for growth. So our average age being 30, we're a young community, and we're eager to take on new projects. So I would just say that Caldwell is the future.
Great. And that's exciting to hear, because I've been talking to some of the young adults in the community, and I guess one big concern they have is housing, but also like affordable housing for them, and then also just being able to be a young professional, in this area. So those industrial jobs sound like that's kind of what is going to fuel that. So, well, I appreciate your guys' time. Thank you for letting us know a little bit about who you are, what makes you tick, and just all the exciting things that are happening here in Caldwell. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. It was fun.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.